So crazy for you. Chapter summary. Hot Moth's newest supervillain appears, business as usual, except for two things. First, this supervillain is a familiar face, which makes things a little more personal, and second, Ladybug and Chat Noir both anticipate having a very important talk. Afterward, winking face. It's only when Ladybug finds herself alone with Chat Noir that she finally realizes just how deeply she's fallen for him, and so she finally tells him what he's dreamed of hearing for so long. The two lose themselves in a torrid embrace and many heated kisses, which brings out a little more of the lust-hungry tomcat in Chat Noir than the two have seen so far until now. When Marinette finally returns home, she's able to treat herself to the orgasm she's been looking forward to all day, and even figures out her way around her G-spot after some patient sexual exploration and experimentation. When she finds herself craving cuddles from Chat Noir to the point of mild distress, however, she learns from Tiki that her symptoms are progressing very quickly. Now, her body will start to crave Chat Noir's touch more and more, and she's due to start getting super wet very soon, as well. What's a ladybug in heat to do? Monday. If Tiki hadn't been with Marinette to make sure she didn't wander off in the wrong direction, Marinette could easily have gotten lost and run over by a car, with how lost and thought she was on her way home for lunch. Wait, Marinette, she chirped, sticking her head out of Marinette's purse. Home is that way. Go back and go left. Across the street. What? Oh. Marinette stopped and retraced her steps, following Tiki's pointing arm. Thanks, Tiki. Sorry, I was distracted. I figured. Tiki said, smiling up at her. Just stay aware of your surroundings. Before Marinette could respond, she heard a noise in the distance that sounded like a cross between the cracking of a tree falling and the rumbling of an earthquake. Do you hear that? Tiki exclaimed. It sounds like an earthquake. Yeah, but I don't feel the ground shaking, Marinette remarked, looking around for the source of the sound. And I don't see any dust rising. If it was an earthquake, buildings and stuff would be falling, right? Only if it was strong enough. And if you can't feel the tremors. Well, whether it's an earthquake or something else, it could be the doing of a supervillain either way. Marinette said, turning around and running towards the sound. We'll just have to check it out. Marinette squeezed herself into the first alleyway she found, which might not have qualified as an alleyway at all, since the space between the building was barely wide enough for a bicycle. She regretted not looking for a wider alleyway when she scraped her nose on the brick and felt her hair getting messed up, but she was hidden from view, which was what mattered. Tiki, transform me. Suited up and spotted, she made to take out her yo-yo, only to find that she didn't have enough room to move her arms to reach it. I guess this'll teach me to pick my changing spots more carefully, she shimmied back the way she had come, trying to ignore the stinging in the tip of her nose, and then took to the rooftops. She kept her eyes peeled for any signs of chaos going down, sounds of people panicking, people running, police sirens, helicopters, buildings collapsing. However, the first unusual thing she caught sight of was what looked like climbing roses growing up the sides of College François Dupont and across the lawn and streets in all directions. The roses were oversized and pitch black, and the stems and leaves were covered in thorns. They didn't seem to be causing any damage to the building, but anyone trapped inside risked getting hurt if they tried to get out, especially if the roses had any magical powers, which was highly likely. Traffic accidents were quite likely to happen at the rate the roses were growing, and any pedestrians out walking about would be helpless. The sooner she could find the supervillain and capture the Akuma, the better. Hopefully, Chat Noir had heard the sound of the roses growing, too, and would be joining her soon to help take this supervillain down. I hope our team dynamic won't get thrown up by our heats, she thought. I don't think my symptoms have gotten bad enough for me to suddenly have the urge to jump him as soon as I see Him, so he can't be any worse of, right? Still, I don't know how I'm going to act normal around him. I've been thinking about him, fantasizing about him, a lot today. I've kinda made up my mind to kiss him silly when I see him, and I was hoping to read what I wrote about his confession in my diary and rub one out before I go back to class. Ah, just thinking about is getting me all bothered again. Wait, will he be able to smell how aroused I am at this point in the cycle? Oh crap, I forgot about that until now. If he notices, he'd better not say anything rude. Ladybug perched on the roof of the Agrest estate and cast her eyes around trying to locate the supervillain among the thousands of huge black roses. If they were the same color as the plants they had summoned, and were content to wait for her and Chat Noir to come to them, this might be difficult. Her bug phone rang right then, and she quickly snatched it up from behind her hip and hit the answer button. Chat Noir. Are you following the... Wait, the wall behind you is covered with roses. Are they harmless, then? That's the weird thing, Chat Noir replied, glancing sideways at a rose sticking out next to his shoulder. He was keeping his voice low, so she guessed he was trying to stay hidden. The fragrance they give of is so strong it's giving me a headache, but they don't seem to do anything. Seriously though, imagine every single one of these roses was a scented oil plug-in, and then multiply your own sense of smell by 1.5, and you'll get an idea of what I'm enduring right now. But then, what's the point of making them grow all over Paris? It can't just be for decoration, or I would hope there would be a lot more colors. He tossed his head to make his hair swoosh and smirked. I mean, I know I make the color black look good, but I have charisma and feline charm. And cunning wit and star power and animal magnetism. A little modesty would go a long way, she deadpanned, trying to look exasperated instead of amused. Anyway, the point is, we need to track down the supervillain whose the roses grow and capture the Akuma, or all of Paris will smell like plug-ins and be covered in thorns. Have you got any leads? He quickly got serious. I'm pretty sure the baddie in question is in the gym. I actually caught sight of her earlier, and I'm trying to see if I can sneak up on her. I think, he grimaced. I think it's Amy, the girl from before who got akumatized into Summer Fi. I recognized her. What? Ladybug gasped. Hawk Moth akumatized her a second time. That's horrible. I wonder what happened that upset her this time, and if it's anything like what got her akumatized the first time. If it happened here, while she was still at school, then it probably was. I guess the selfie I took with her didn't stop those girls from bullying her again. His cat ears drooped slightly. There wasn't anything else you could have done, and we can't keep watch over everyone to make sure they never experience negative emotions, she said gently. We'll make this right, turn Amy back to normal, and then see what we can do to help her, okay? Yeah, okay, he said, smiling gratefully back at her. Her heart gave a strange wiggle in her chest. Too bad we're not talking face to face. I kinda want to kiss him right now, she mused, before mentally smacking herself. Oh my god, get it together, Ladybug. You've got a job to do. She took a deep breath to steady her nerves. So, if she's just waiting in the gym, and not out looking for anyone or anything, she must expect us to come to her. Hawkmoth wouldn't let her just hang around without a plan to beat us and take our miraculouses, and she must have something she wants, too. Yeah, I figured this was probably a trap, Chat Noir replied with a nod. That's why I figured sneaking up on her might give us an advantage. But maybe going in guns blazing would catch her off guard just as much. He tilted his head back and forth indecisively. If I used Cataclysm on the right spot, I could probably clear a way in. Only if there's no other way to get in, we might need your superpower to get us out of a tight spot. Later. Here, let me come to you, I'll track your location on my bug phone. Sure thing. He cracked a cheeky grin. Don't get lost in the garden tracking down this black beauty, Now. He said this with a hearty wink and jabbed a thumb at himself. Ladybug smiled. And rolled her eyes at his antics. You're the only black thing that's talking and moving, so I don't think it'll be hard, she said. Actually, I could probably sneak up on you, since you won't be able to smell me coming with all that rose perfume around. You think I've always had a cat's sense of smell. I'm flattered. He chuckled. Honestly, I'm happy to just wait until after we prune the garden. He leaned in close to the screen, putting on another flirtatious smile. Then I can smell you free from interference, if you're partial to the idea, of course. Another cheeky wink. Ladybug's eyes popped, and it felt like her heart jumped and hit its head. She could imagine so easily the sensation of Chat Noir's breath on her neck, and her imagination wanted to run away with it and add the feeling of his hands tenderly holding her face, moving one hand up the back of her neck to weave his fingers into her hair as he traced her collarbone with the claws of the other. For fuck's sake, get a grip, Ladybug. You have an Akuma to catch in a city full of citizens to save. For shame. She could feel herself blushing, and hoped Chat Noir hadn't noticed anything off about her expression. How embarrassing. Let's not. Get distracted while we're supposed to be protecting Paris. Also, after we've taken care of this latest supervillain, I actually have some stuff I wanna talk about with you. So, let's get this over with, huh? Chat Noir's eyebrows shot up and he blinked at her in surprise. Then, his expression turned sly. This darn cat. Closing parenthesis. Right. Gotcha. Let's get straight down to business, save Paris, and then I'll be happy to hang back and talk all you want, Tilda. He shot her his trademark eyebrow wiggle and cheeky grin combo, and Ladybug had to clench her jaw to keep it from dropping open. Is he for real right now? Am I the only one who's all nervous and bashful? No way, that's not fair. Chat Noir broke the tension by bursting into laughter. The sound made her heart throb and a tiny shiver went up the back of her neck. It was such a pure and happy sound, it made her feel warm and sunny inside. It had been such a long time since she had heard him laugh like that. Wait. Had she heard him laugh like that before? She couldn't remember when. Sorry. I'll behave, I promise. He chuckled. Aw man, you should have seen your face. He really does have a bright smile, she thought, smiling. Silly kitty, she said. We've been chatting too long, I'm gonna hang up and swing on over. Okie dokie. See you soon. She hung up and located the blinking green paw print on the map on her bug phone, showing where Chat Noir was relative to her location. She still couldn't get into her fight-ready mood for the fight with a supervillain that was surely to come. How am I going to keep myself from scooping him up into a big hug when I see him? Or just smacking him a big ol' kiss? I can't deny it anymore, he's just too dorky and adorable. He's adorkable. I'm a mess. Tilda. As soon as Ladybug dropped down beside the school building, the smell of the roses hit her like a tidal wave. Ugh. She pinched her nose shut as she slipped around the corner. Even without Chat Noir's enhanced sense of smell, the stench was almost strong enough to make her start coughing. Sure enough, it was like the entire building was covered in scented plug-ins. The roses smelled just like real roses, but just way too strong to be pleasant. Just around the corner, she found Chat Noir waiting for her, sitting like a cat for no reason that she could think of except for the heck of it. He looked up excitedly as she approached and beamed at her, blinking once very slowly at her. The gesture struck her as very endearing, even though it was odd to see someone blink so slowly. Hi, he greeted her, all traces of his earlier bravado replaced with warm sincerity. Hi, kitty, she greeted, squatting down next to him. She reached out without thinking and started affectionately scratching his scalp through his thick blonde hair. His eyes widened at her. forwardness, and she swore she could almost see sparkles in his eyes. Then, his eyelids drooped, and a lazy smile spread across his face as seemed to sag slightly in place. Then, she heard it. Ah, he's purring. I'm making him purr. Oh my god, he's so cute, I can't handle it. HNNNNG, wanna kiss him. Shut the fuck up, ladybug. She affectionately brushed his bangs out of his face before reluctantly pulling back. She made a mental note to play with his hair more later. Come on, chat on, she said, standing up. Let's find a way into the school and take care of Amy, okay. Chat Noir blinked several times and then gave his head a vigorous shake, like a cat with something stuck to its face. Why yeah, right. He stood up next her, and then gagged and pinched his nose shut. Ugh, these roses are horrible. He grumbled. My head is killing me. Ugh. He abruptly let go of his nose and coughed. Oh, God don't breathe through your mouth, that makes it even worse. Quote. Ladybug glanced at him in confusion. She had just pinched her own nose shut and had found breathing through her mouth to be a vast improvement, though it left an unpleasant aftertaste in her mouth. If you say so, she said. She turned toward the rose-covered wall and backed up several paces to get a better view of the side of the building. Looking up at the edge of the roof, she knew she could easily use her yo-yo to get up there, but was it safe? Having Chat Noir use Cataclysm on the thorny wall of roses was another option, of course, but as she had told him earlier, doing this seemed wasteful and risky. There was no telling what would happen once they confronted the supervillain turned Amy inside, and they might need his cataclysm later. Chat Noir could also get to the roof using his staff, but again, they had no idea what might happen. Trying to shove their way through the roses by force was obviously a bad idea, even if their supersuits protected them from getting pricked by the thorns. Just because all the roses had done so far was stink up the place didn't mean they were harmless. Who knew what would happen if they were touched? She remembered that the gym of the school was in the very center of the building under an opening in the roof. She didn't think she could jump down into it from any nearby buildings, they were all just a bit too far away. Chat Noir might be able to propel himself over the opening with his staff. And drop down into it without touching the school building, but she couldn't do the same thing with her yo-yo without something to lasso. She supposed she could lasso his staff if he extended it up through the roof, but once he was inside, the supervillain would probably spring into action, and then their plan might be fucked. They should drop down into the gym together, so that neither of them risked being captured without the other's support, or left behind if the way in got blocked by more roses. After all, there was a good chance that this was a trap. Did I ever tell you how I love watching a plan form behind that face of yours, my lady? Chat Noir murmured warmly near her left ear. She felt him tuck a lock of loose hair behind her ear, tenderly with the tip of a claw. A delightful little shiver shot straight up the back of her neck and made her scalp tingle, and she was seized with the sudden urge to turn to face him, seize him, and kiss him absolutely senseless. By the skin of her teeth, she resisted, but she couldn't stop a shivery sigh from escaping, and she very much doubted Chat Noir missed the shiver up her neck, or the flush bloom across her cheeks. She took a deep breath and swallowed before responding. Well, the plan I was forming is gone, now, you're distracting me, she scolded, refusing to look at him as she stared at the edge of the school roof. Chat Noir gasped very softly in delighted surprise. I'm distracting. Ah, how long has it been? My dream to be able to distract my lady. There's a time and a place for being distracting, and this isn't it, Katsanova, she quipped back, as she retrieved her train of thought. Okay, I think I've got a plan. She finally turned to face him, and leaned sideways to point at his staff, which was secured at the small of his back. You're gonna take out your staff, extend it, and prop it up at a 45-degree angle pointing toward the school roof. I'm going to balance on it and hold on while you extend it until I'm directly over the opening in the roof, and you need to make sure it doesn't touch the roses. When I'm in place, I'll drop down through the roof and bring the end of the staff down with me. You're going to hold on to the other end of the staff, and so my acting as a counterweight should turn your staff into a totter, and bring you up over the roof where you can drop in right after me. You'll probably be best off clinging to your staff with your arms and legs wrapped around it for when I bring you up. You got all that? Yup. Brilliant. He chirped. I'm not too thrilled about being yanked into the air, but I'll just hang on for dear life just like you said. Good boy. She replied. Okay, let's do this. Chat Noir took out his staff and extended it to about 2 meters long. He grasped it firmly at the center and propped it on his shoulder, pointing it at the school building behind him. Ladybug grabbed on with both hands and carefully climbed up the length of it, hunched over and balancing on her toes with her knees bent. She felt rather like a mutant chameleon. Chat Noir craned his neck to watch her climb his staff, beaming at her in a deceptively innocent manner. Careful where you ogle, Tomcat. She couldn't help but think. Once she had climbed past his shoulder, she carefully straddled the staff and locked her legs around it, and then flattened herself against it. You can hang onto it like this, okay? She said, glancing at him. Yeah, got it, he confirmed, nodding. Just say when. Okay, I'm ready. Chat Noir pressed the paw print-shaped button on the staff, and Ladybug saw the edge of the school roof start to draw closer and closer as she was pushed towards it by the staff as it extended. She looked down as she passed just over the surface of the roof and watched the opening in the roof draw near. She felt the staff bend slightly under her weight but trusted in its indestructibility and Chat Noir's strength. Okay, stop. She called over her shoulder. The staff stopped extending with her right above the open roof. Get ready. I'm dropping down. She loosened her grip and flipped sideways, letting her legs dangle down. She dangled there for a second, and then the staff tipped over and slid, dropping her towards the gym floor as Chat Noir no doubt jumped onto his end of the staff and was launched upward by her counterweight. Whoa 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 whoa. Chat Noir slid down the staff like a firefighter on a fire pole. He touched down right next to her and then took the staff from her, returning it to its normal length and then holding it at the ready. Ladybug scanned the gym and took in the sight of even more black roses growing all around them right out of the concrete. She pinched her nose shut again, the smell was overwhelming. Chat Noir started coughing, and she saw his eyes were starting to water. Gak. I can't breathe. He croaked. Suddenly, Ladybug heard the sound of accelerating plant growth right above them. Looking up, she saw the black roses growing to cover up the opening in the roof, blocking their exit. So it was a trap, she remarked. Good thing we made sure to come in together. All thanks to your plan. Chat Noir said hoarsely, beaming at her in spite of his obvious physical discomfort. I'd say you really rose to the occasion. Ladybug groaned. I should have known. You got any more puns saved up that I should brace myself for? Oh, I'm gonna have as much fun as possible with this one. He responded with a wink. I wonder if Amy will appreciate my wit and sense of humor. Before Ladybug could think of a comeback, she heard a vaguely familiar voice call out to them. Finally. Ladybug and Chat Noir. You two sure took your time. The overgrown thicket of roses parted to reveal the akumatized Amy, her long, wild auburn ponytail was unmistakable, and she was once again sporting fairy wings at her back. Instead of a sunny dress, however, she was outfitted in a pitch-black leotard form-fitted like her own supersuit, with a long tutu sparkling with deep blood-red glitter. A single black rose adorned her ponytail, like a barrette, and Ladybug was willing to bet that was where the akumatized was. Were you afraid to come and face me? She asked, staring imperiously at them. Or, she paused, appearing distracted as though a thought had occurred to her. She smiled slyly. Maybe. You two got distracted. Ladybug glanced at Chat Noir in mild bewilderment, and saw he looked as confused as she was. There's certainly a lot to do in Paris, Ladybug remarked, but we take our jobs as superheroes very seriously. Somebody's got to keep Hawkmoth and his supervillains from endangering innocent people. Say, from being smothered by giant thorny roses. I'd say turning Paris into a noxious jungle makes your roses the most distracting thing in Paris. Chat Noir tagged on, coughing again. Though not in a good way. Why are they all black? Where are all the red, white, yellow, or pink roses? And you, Amy, or whatever you call yourself now. What's with the gothic getup? Shouldn't your cheeks be rosy and your lips red as a rose? I gotta say, I'm disappointed. Talk trash all you want, but the fact is, you've fallen into my trap, and you're never getting out. Until you surrender your miraculouses. As for my name, it's Black Rose Fairy. She fluttered into the air, and the roses sprang to life, growing at an alarming speed towards Ladybug and Chat Noir. And what I meant was that you two might have gotten distracted by each other's company. I hear things between you have really started to heat up. Have you been bitten by the love bug? Ladybug. Have you been feeling frisky, Black Kitty? Ladybug felt her face turn red faster than a traffic light, and she swore steam would start coming out of her ears and nose out of embarrassment and anger. How do you? When did you? Wah. You. You just mind your own business. She shrieked, bobbing and weaving under and around the attacking roses. Thank God she won't remember any of this after we turn her back to normal, she thought, but how does she know in the first place? Oh, have you and Hawkmoth been gossiping about us, now? Chat Noir demanded. Incredulously. He used his staff to beat back a trio of attacking roses and then extended it to propel himself over them. Are you envious of our love, perhaps? Or is Hawkmoth feeling a case of sour grapes because he hasn't been able to get any action lately because he's been hiding out in his evil lair? Both Ladybug and Black Rose Fairy yelled, EEWWW. Ladybug added, just because you're probably right doesn't mean you should say it. She stumbled slightly as she ran and dodged. The concrete under her feet kept cracking and quaking from the rapid growth of the rose's roots under the surface. While she could use her yo-yo to tie up the growing plants, it wouldn't be of much use if the roses could just keep growing, and Black Rose Fairy could just summon more, as many as she wanted. There wasn't a safe way to try to lasso Black Rose out of the air, either. She could fly out of the way easily, and that was without all the roses blocking Ladybug's way. How could they stop them from growing? Chat Noir called out, hey, BRF. I got a joke for ya. What happened to the rose when another rose was added to it? Don't call me that. Black Rose yelled back. The rose rose. Chat Noir snickered at his own joke, only to let out a startled yelp as a bunch of roses attacked him from above, where they were growing downward from the roof. He leapt out of the way, separating his staff into two segments and throwing them at Black Rose like boomerangs. She only narrowly avoided them, and Ladybug wished she could think of a way to put his distraction to good use. I've been kissed by a ruse. Oh, great, now he's breaking into song. Stop running around. Black Rose yelled, gesturing wildly as she tried to capture them. Why aren't you falling under my spell? She left me roses by the STAAAAIIIIIRRRRS. A surprise to let me know. She CAAAAARRRRES. What? Her spell. What spell? Confused, Ladybug glanced in Chat Noir's direction. She failed to catch his eye, as he was too busy dodging flowers. Well, that end. I wanna LAAAAAYYYYYYOOOOOOUUUUDOOWWWN in a bed of ROOOOOOOOOSES. He was now singing. Ladybug might have groaned again, except one this time, they were lyrics from one of Jagged Stone's newest singles, and two, it made Black Rose scream in frustration to have Chat Noir continue to taunt her. Are you saying your roses aren't just for making Paris reek? Ladybug asked. I'm sure they're giving a lot of people breathing problems by now, but why would I just want Paris to smell like roses? Black Rose retorted, flushing angrily. I'm making everyone in Paris my servants so that they can ridicule and humiliate and intimidate everyone who's been tormenting me. Is that why Chat Noir and I have these horrible headaches? Ladybug wondered. Because the scent of the roses is supposed to brainwash us. But then, why isn't it working? Is it just because we're superheroes that never seemed to protect us from spells before? Poor Chat Noir knows that from experience. And who would be better to lead the march than you and Chat Noir? Black Rose continued. Quote, especially you, Chat Noir. I told them you had my back, but they didn't believe me. But we'll show them, won't we? The roses pursuing Ladybug suddenly seemed to change course. To her horror, they were all now growing towards Chat Noir, even faster than before. Chat Noir. Ladybug flung her yo-yo in a desperate attempt to capture even some of the roses before they reached him, but there were just too many. In a flash, Chat Noir was completely cocooned in thorny roses. They wiggled and squirmed as he obviously struggled to get free, but then the smell of the roses intensified even more, making her feel slightly lightheaded. Seconds later, the roses grew still. Oh no. Resigned to the fact that she might have to defend against a hostile Chat Noir now, too, Ladybug decided it was now or never. Lucky charm. A red and black spotted lawn rake appeared. Ladybug mused that it might make a slightly better weapon against aggressive giant plants, but there were just so many of them. How was she supposed to get close enough to Black Rose to snatch away her hair clip? Before she could come up with a plan, she caught sight of Black Rose landing at the top of the stairs to the second floor of the school, where the net of roses was pulling itself apart to release Chat Noir. He squatted cat-like beside her like a loyal pet, and Black Rose stroked the top of his head fondly, smiling victoriously. Now you're my kitty, she said in a sickeningly sweet tone. Now, take down Ladybug so we can take her miraculous. Once Hawk Moth gets what he wants, he'll spare you for me, and then you can stay my kitty forever. That's my kitty, you witch. Ladybug's sudden ejaculation seemed to shock Black Rose into silence, and both her and Chat Noir's eyes bulged in shock. Ladybug had taken herself by surprise most of all. She was almost never one to lose her cool in a fight against a supervillain, even when Chat Noir was turned against her. But the way Black Rose had been talking to him, petting him, it made her blood boil with rage. Chat Noir was the first to move again. He leapt down to face Ladybug and brandished his staff. Well, shall we get this over with, my lady? He asked smoothly. Ladybug blinked and squinted imperceptibly at him. She saw Black Rose flutter down to stand behind him to watch the action unfold. She glanced down at the rake in her hands again, then looked up again at Chat Noir. They stared each other down for a moment, and then it clicked. Her eyes widened in comprehension. It's because we're in heat. We can't be brainwashed. He's pretending. He's holding his staff at the ready to. She smiled triumphantly. Bring it on, she cried. She charged at him, raising the rake above her head to strike. Chat Noir backflipped away from her, his staff coming down on a line of roses and breaking their stems as they were pinned to the concrete. At the exact moment his feet hit the ground at the end of his backflip, Ladybug used his back as a springboard and thrust the rake forward and below her, crushing the second line of roses, blocking her way to Black Rose and allowing her to push off even higher into the air. As she landed right behind Black Rose, ready to snatch the barrette from her ponytail, a third wave of Roses burst from the concrete, surrounding her, but Ladybug didn't even get the chance to worry. Cataclysm. Chat Noir slapped his open palm against the already destroyed floor of the gym. The fractured concrete crumbled, destabilizing and destroying the roses' root system. They crumpled to the ground, unable to support themselves. No. Black Rose cried. Ladybug neatly snatched the black rose from her ponytail and crushed the petals in her fist. A black butterfly fluttered out of the ruined flower, instinctively trying to flee. No more evil doing for you, you nasty bug. Time to diabolize. With a flick of her finger, Ladybug flipped open her yo-yo and gracefully flung it skyward, snatching the Akuma out of the air almost effortlessly. Gotcha. Her earrings beeped their 4-minute warning as she paused before opening her yo-yo again. Would the butterfly be sparkling pink again, like last time? Sure enough, when it emerged, it fluttered around her head, trailing sparkling lights behind it, glowing ever so softly pink. As it took off, heading wherever magic butterflies go, she picked up her rake and flung it into the air. Miraculous ladybug. The swarm of magical ladybugs spread out to cover all of Paris that the roses had overgrown, no doubt freeing all of the people they had brainwashed from their spell and from being trapped indoors. The roses in the gym dissolved into nothing, and the concrete was made intact again. Black Rose Fairy's costume dissipated, leaving a dazed and confused Amy in her place. Ladybug turned to Chat Noir, and they exchanged their traditional fist bump, beaming identical grins. Found it. Ladybug. Chat Noir. Amy was staring at them anxiously. What happened? Where is everyone? Oh no, her face fell, and she wrung her hands. I was akumatized again, wasn't I? Hey, don't beat yourself up, it wasn't your fault, Chat Noir said, gently walking over to her and squatting down next to her, ignoring the beeping of his ring. You didn't ask Hawkmoth to turn you into a supervillain. He targeted you and took advantage of your feelings, he's the only bad guy here. Ladybug squatted down on Amy's other side and put a comforting hand on her shoulder. Chat Noir's right, she said. Those girls are still bullying you, aren't they? You have every right to be upset for how cruel they've been to you. It's not wrong to feel negative emotions, Amy. We're just sorry you had go through this again. Well, I don't remember anything that happened, Amy admitted. But I must have tried to do something bad, just like last time. Hey, don't worry. Everything's gone back to normal. Ladybug said bracingly. Nobody got hurt, and Paris is safe. I'm sorry the selfie you took of us didn't make those girls leave you alone. Chat Noir said, grimacing. I hope it didn't make things worse somehow. Amy squinted with the effort of thinking back to before she was akumatized. My memories. Kinda fuzzy, even of back then. I think when I told them about you, they laughed and didn't believe me, and when I tried to show them the picture to prove it, she squeezed her lips together in a tight, trembling line, appearing to remember something upsetting. They said it didn't mean anything, that you just felt sorry for me, and that you would never be interested in a boring girl like me. Chat Noir scowled in outrage. Ladybug was positive her face looked exactly the same. I just can't understand how some people can be so nasty, he said with a frustrated sigh. I wonder at that a lot, too, Ladybug said with a grim nod. My best guess is, some people just have to put other people down to feel good about themselves, because they're jealous, are they? Don't like themselves deep down, I dunno. Well, do you think I did it just because I felt sorry for you? Chat Noir asked Amy. Amy looked up at him and shook her head meekly. And, I say there's no such thing as a boring person. He added brightly. You certainly aren't boring. I don't know you very well, of course, but I know you really like Summer Fi, and I happen to enjoy that series, too. He gave her a friendly wink, and a bright grin. Really? Amy smiled shyly but brightly at him. You're not just saying that. Now, does this look like the face of a liar? Chad asked, gesturing to his still grinning face with a finger. Amy laughed. No, it doesn't. Ladybug smiled at the heartwarming scene. Here was proof again that Chat Noir really did have quite the sweet side. Actually, it reminded her of Adrian, so warm and kind, and happily helpful and supportive. She remembered when her great uncle had come to Paris all the way from China last year to compete for the title of world's greatest chef on a cooking show. Not only had Adrian been happy to act as translator and have his bodyguard chauffeur them all to Le Grand Paris, but he had been quick to reassure Marinette when she expressed doubts that her great uncle even liked her, or appreciated the bouquet she had given him. And when Chloe had sabotaged her great uncle's soup just because Marinette had antagonized her for being rude and nasty as usual, Adrian had been on her side 100%. Ah, he had even put a comforting on her shoulder, so sweet. Her earrings beeped again, ending her train of thought and sending her into a very slight panic. She wanted to help Amy just as much as Chat Noir did, but they needed to make this quick. She still needed to have the talk with Chat Noir. Her stomach gave a nervous wiggle at the thought. She cupped her chin thoughtfully, trying to think of how they might stop those girls from bullying Amy anymore, or help Amy better handle their bullying emotionally. If these girls were anything like Chloe, a warning from Chat Noir and herself was unlikely to change the way they treated other people. What Amy needed was a boost in confidence, so that she could ignore the girls' insults. The problem was, there was no quick, simple way to increase someone's confidence. She knew this from her own personal experiences with Chloe. This gave her an idea. But she was a little hesitant to put it to use. It required her to share a tiny detail about her personal life. It wasn't something that could be used to find her secret identity. Though, right. Chat Noir's ring beeped again. They had less than 3 minutes. She couldn't think of anything else they could do without getting themselves way too invested in Amy's life, so she decided to go with it. Listen, Amy, Chat Noir and I need to be going, but let me give you some advice, she said. There really isn't any foolproof way to make bullies stop bullying other people. The best thing to do is to work on raising your own confidence and just ignoring them. It's a lot easier said than done, I know, but you're the only person you have control over. And I'll tell you something. She glanced nervously in Chat Noir's direction. He wouldn't get upset hearing her share a personal detail with someone else before him, would he? There's a girl who's been going to the same school as I have for years, and for the longest time. She's been trying to make my life miserable. It took me a long time to build up the confidence to stand up to her, and you know what? She still says nasty things to me and everybody else, but it doesn't matter so much anymore because I've taught myself to not care about anything she says. Those girls say all those nasty things to you just to try to upset you. None of it is true, and how could it be if they don't even know you? Both Amy and Chat Noir listened to her inspirational lecture with rapt attention. In fact, they were wearing almost identical expressions of awe. It made her blush a little. So, think you'll be okay. Ladybug stood up and held out a hand to Amy. It's okay to be upset, or mad, or disgusted. And it's okay to cry if you need to. Just don't let them make you feel down on yourself. Amy smiled tremulously at her and took her hand, letting her pull her to her feet. Chat Noir stood up as well. Ladybug noticed that he was glancing between her and Amy with an uncharacteristically distant expression, like he was lost in thought. Thank you,